Bad Mechs, the Cougar, written by Sean of Sarna.net, the greatest wiki there is. Read by Shrapnel. I'm telling you, man, I'm cursed. Just cursed. Private Coup McRorder shouted to no one in particular. He was already 3 sheets to the wind after being on Galatea for just 2 hours shore leave, as the rowdy McRorders rested and refitted before returning to find contracts in the hinterlands. Coup, the youngest of the McRorder clan, was a regular at the Easy 8's bar whenever he was planetside. He also tended to get roaring drunk and then loudly express his grievances to the entire bar. If his mother wasn't very good friends with the Easy 8's owner, he'd have already been tossed into the Galatine dirt. This time, however, a rosy-cheeked lass sitting at the bar next to him was just drunk enough to bite. All right, she said, vainly attempting to lower Coup's volume with a conciliatory note. The bartender nodded his thanks at the intervention. Why are you cursed? My mech keeps getting blown out from under me, that's why! Coup roared, slamming back his beer and calling for another. The bartender rolled his eyes, but dutifully refilled Coup's stein. Undeterred by the volume, the woman pressed, So, why does your mech keep getting shot up? You never heard a cover before? She tried to make the question flirtatious rather than accusational, but her girlish giggle instead came out as a stifled burp. Course I have! Coup shouted after another gulp. You should have seen me at my last mission. I was ducking and weaving out of trees, hiding behind hills, diving into knee-deep ponds. I was a regular special ops commando. This actually brought a moment's silence between the two as she considered his situation. Well, what mech are you driving? Another gulp. Then Coup grinned. A Cougar. Well, there's your problem, she said, taking a more measured sip of her own beer. Coup had expected the sound of awe that usually accompanied his declaration of driving a clan omni-mech. The derisive tone made him turn to face his new companion. Oh, what's wrong with a Cougar? Finishing her drink, the woman also turned to face Coup, revealing her name to be Sally, thanks to the tag on her technician's fatigues. First, it's slow as hell for a light mech. Don't matter how much dodging and weaving you're doing when you're the same speed as heavy. Sally called for a refill before continuing. Second, you got barely more armour than a commando, but your biggest problem is you got more guns than most know what to do with. Trust me, I know what to do with them, Coup retorted with a raised eyebrow. Sure, killer, Sally replied with a dismissive sip. But that much firepower on that vulnerable a platform is always going to be a top priority target for any commander worth their salt. Another moment of blessed quiet fell over the bar as Coup thought upon Sally's wisdom. So, I'm not being paranoid. They really are gunning for me. Yep. The revelation stunned Coup, who downed his beer with a glum realization that he'd been bait for the rowdy McRorders ever since his first deployment. The silence deepened before it dawned on Sally that she may have accidentally burst an emotional bubble she didn't know existed. Luckily for Coup, she had a thing for sad puppy types, and now that he wasn't being a drunken lout, Sally's reappraisal of the young man was much more favourable. She then came to a decision. I'm off shift in half an hour. Wanna head back to my place? Coup blinked, then downed his beer. As the two left, the bartender saw Coup had left more than double his usual tip. Following the disastrous refusal war, then Khan Martha Pride ordered the reconstruction of the Clan Jade Falcon Toman with all new mech designs. Those designs would become known as the Fire Falcon, Black Lanner, Nightjar and Turkina. But Pride demanded a 5th design to complete a full clan star. However, Martha Pride recognised that she had already exhausted her scientists by tasking them with designing 4 new mechs from the ground up. For the 5th, she allowed them to start with an existing chassis, rather than start over from scratch. That chassis was the Adder, Innersphere reporting name Puma, with the final design being known throughout the clans in Innersphere as the Cougar. What Falcon scientists came up with typified the clan's aggressive tendencies, but it's arguable whether it's an improvement over the Adder. The Cougar's available omnipod space comes to 19 tons, more than half the overall weight of the chassis, but this enormous firepower comes at a cost of speed and armour. The Cougar has just 5.5 tons of ferrofibrous armour, half a ton less than the Adder, and a top speed of just 86 kph, the average of most clan heavy mechs. The Cougar was also deployed without the usual battery of tests that clan scientists would require of a new Omni-Mech. Instead, the Cougar was given its baptism of fire during the Battle of Coventry in 3058. Lyran and mercenary forces initially considered the Cougar a new variant of the Adder and were surprised by the Cougar's blistering firepower. Even though it was often driven by Falcon cadets before their trials of positions, it was deployed in such numbers that its overwhelming offensive capabilities often made up for lackluster piloting. Following the Battle of Coventry, the Cougar quickly spread throughout clan space. Cougars were often spotted fighting amongst Smoke Jaguar forces during Operation Bulldog, and salvage meant the design even began appearing in Inner Sphere forces. Cougar manufacturing lines were destroyed by Clan Steel Viper in 3071 during the Wars of Reaving, but the Falcons soon reconstructed those lines on the new Falcon capital of Sudetan. As the clan began to emphasize mobility as well as firepower into the Republic era, the Cougar saw less use in the Falcon Toman even as construction continued unabated. Instead, the Falcons sold the aging design to fellow clans and even the Republic to fund its development of newer mech designs. At the height of the Republic, the Cougar could be found in militaries and top mercenary commands throughout human space. The Cougar is given at least one long-range weapon in nearly all of its configurations. Clan scientists correctly assumed that the Cougar's best role outside of near-suicidal Falcon aggression would be fire support. The Prime configuration is a perfect example, with twin LRM-10s and twin large pulse lasers, offering withering force projection at any range. The A variant leans into the fire support role, with twin LRM-20s and Artemis IV tracking, twin ER medium lasers, and a small pulse laser for anti-infantry duty. In its B configuration, the Cougar mimics its progenitor with an ER PPC in each arm and an ER medium laser. Instead of a targeting computer, this variant mounts 6 additional double heat sinks to manage the oppressive heat generated by each particle cannon. The C configuration is no less hot, with 5 ER medium lasers in one arm and a Gauss rifle in the other. The D configuration is more manageable with an ER large laser and Ultra Class 10 autocannon, paired with 4 SRM launchers. More modern variants of the Cougar attempt to overcome its lack of speed by adding a supercharger to the mech's engine. The I configuration mounts twin improved heavy large lasers and twin LRM-10s, much like the Prime configuration, but has 3 more double heat sinks to manage heat. The T configuration has 2 Streak LRM-10s and 2 ER medium pulse lasers tied to a targeting computer, as well as a watchdog CEWS providing electronic countermeasures. Despite being the very definition of the proverbial glass cannon, the Cougar continues to remain popular enough for Olivetti weaponry to produce the mech at scale, with licenses provided to Seafox and Inner Sphere manufacturers. Or perhaps it's simply the fact that Cougars often make for tempting targets, with competent commanders focusing fire on these vulnerable mechs. The Cougar undoubtedly suffers higher losses than other light mechs, requiring a robust manufacturing base to keep the clan Omni-Mech in service. Alright spheroids and clanners alike, listen up, Shrapnel here with a cold! Let's talk about our Marmite mech. I personally love the Cougar and I use it extensively in my Smoke Jags and any other time I run a clan force. I also know that a lot of you people hate the little bugger for all the regular reasons for clan mechs. It's a glass cannon, and in this case more than usual. Yes, it's light in armor, yes it's slow, but look at the guns it's got. My favourite is the Prime variant, it's just so good. That is until we get to the H variant, and that is even better. Yes, it runs hotter, yes it's lightly armoured, yes it's slower than an Ulla, which is already slow even by spheroid standards for a light mech, But doesn't it just look pretty? And best of all, 2 large pulse lasers? Yes please, I'll take that in Clan Invasion era. Yeah, alright, you can't fire them and move without overheating, and if you add in the LRMs you're going to be cooking the bacon. But it's so very Clan for me. It's just a walking platform with an almighty wish to go out like a supernova and take as many enemies as possible with it. I absolutely love this thing. But what do you think of the Cougar? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you kill it on sight? Let me know in the comments below. And as ever, a massive thank you to Sean of Sarna.net for writing this and everyone that volunteers at Sarna.net. You are doing Blake's will. I've been Shrapnel, and this has been Bad Mechs, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.